For your objective today, you will identify major and minor characters in setting, explain how characters in setting influence the plot, and write a response that shows my understanding of the text. You will be successful because you will be able to answer the question, what was the story all about? You will use the strategy that we've learned in your retelling, and you can write about the story using your own words and thinking. So remember, literary elements are the pieces that make up a story. A major or main character is the one that the story is mostly about. A character's actions and choices move the plot forward, or in other words, they move the events forward. In some stories, the setting affects the story in a big way. The beach, the mountains, or a school. What characters do and experience in those places is very different. So looking at our graphic organizer on the left, we know that characters are the people or animals in the story. The setting is where and when the story takes place. The plot are those events that happen that have the conflict or the problem, and then there's the resolution or the solution. Events are the things that happen in the story, so the events will change a character, can affect the mood, or build the plot. So we are going to be looking at our story about stink, and when we're thinking about this, we want to know who the characters are and who the main character is. So I know for this book, Stink is the main character because the story is mostly about him. Some of the minor characters in this story are Judy, his sister, Mom, Dad, and Mouse, his cat. Those are the minor events or characters in this story. I know that those are some of my characters because in the story, we know Stink is saying something right here. We know Mom said something. Judy is close behind. So these characters are all within the story, and they have some part of the story. They are part of the dialogue. They're part of what happens in the story. So thinking about our graphic organizer, when we're setting out the story elements of a story, we're going to be looking at the characters, and the characters are, the main characters are Stink and Judy. Sorry, the main characters are Stink. I underlined Stink because he is the main character. And then there are Judy and Mom, Dad, and Mouse. So those are some other characters that are in the story. Moving forward, we want to think about what is the setting when Judy is helping Stink with his homework. And I know that she's helping him with his homework after Mom says, you need to go do this. And so one of the things that we know is that he trudged back up the stairs. So right here in my text, he's going upstairs, so he's at their house. But then if I read a little bit further, I know it says right here, in Stink's room. So we know that Stink went upstairs to his bedroom, and that's where him and Judy are working on his homework and trying to remember all of the frog calls. And as I'm putting that in, I know that my setting is going to be at home in Stink's room. Now, when we're looking at these story elements, we're thinking about how the setting maybe influences or changes the plot in the story. And so we have to think about, well, what happened in there? Why did they decide to go to his bedroom? What purpose is there for going into the bedroom? Well, first of all, I know Mom said, go to your room and study. But also, I know that in the story, the two kids were talking about having to stay quiet because they didn't want their mom to hear them doing the frog homework first, and that's right here. She said, but you have to keep it down because Mom won't like us doing frog homework first. I know that when I was a kid, I would go into my bedroom to get away from everybody and to be able to do what I wanted to do. So we know that the bedroom is pretty important because it allows Stink and Judy to really focus on those frog sounds and not be interrupted or not be heard by their mom and dad. So thinking about this, how the story affects the plot, I had said the setting of the story is in Stink's room. It tells me this in paragraph 43 on page 68 of the text. This setting is important because it is a place where Stink and Judy work well together. This sound guessing game would not have happened in any other place. Stink's room was a comfortable place for him to study for this important test. So going to his bedroom was an important part of this story. Without him going to his bedroom, he wouldn't have been able to study for his test. Your job is going to be to think about how the setting and the characters have changed the story, and you're actually going to rewrite the ending of this story. So we know that Judy helps her brother on the quiz, study for the quiz, and because of that, he passes his test, and it's all because of Judy. But I want you guys to write an ending of the story where Judy doesn't help Stink, and you're going to write an ending where Stink has to prepare for the test in some other way. Whatever way you want to pick, this is you. Be as creative. Think about ways that you study for test. And you're going to picture that in your mind and think about those tricks. You're going to write in the story. Would Stink have passed the test? Maybe he does in your story. Maybe he doesn't in your story. This is all up to you. It's you being creative and writing the story about Stink in this frog test however you want. You're going to be doing this in Canvas. Remember that when you open up the page that has the retail writing, you are going to have to hit the submit button at the top to get the text at the bottom, the text box at the bottom, so that you can type. Your second activity is going to be an IXL activity where you're going to be looking at identifying those story elements. And your third activity is going to be one where some of you are going to be doing one thing and then others of you are going to be doing something different. So the students that are on the list need to finish their HMH growth test. Some of you didn't start it, and so I need you guys to finish that. There'll be a link on the bottom of this page to watch a video how to get there. And then if you have finished that test and you're not on the list, then you're just going to read for at least 20 minutes in a book on Mayan or Epic. And I will see you guys for your reading group later.